want to start this Thursday morning with breaking news. Right now, police have 2 blocks of 2nd Avenue closed in downtown Spokane. KREM 2's Brandon T. Jones has been there for an hour or so now. So Brandon, what can you tell us?
Nicole, this is a huge law enforcement presence right here. And then actually we just got some updates literally like maybe 5 or so minutes ago from the Spokane Police Department unit. And I'm gonna go just ahead and step out of the way as we zoom in here because our photojournalist Nathan pointed something out, and hopefully for the next hour we can get a little bit closer to this. You can see this is at the 76 gas station right off the corner of Lincoln and 2nd Avenue, and there is a car just jammed right into the wall over there. And we got those updates, as I mentioned. This all started from a car chase in the county, somewhere out in Airway Heights, that led into downtown. It came through I-90, and this is where it ended, with that suspect's vehicle car crashing into the wall. We're expected to get a little bit more updates later in the morning, and a press release is supposed to be sent out. But once we get that, we'll be able to give you a little bit more details about what happened. But we do know that it was a car chase that led into downtown and ended right here in downtown. So we also were able to just learn that no one was seriously injured. This is going to be like this for a couple more hours as they investigate. There's no danger to the public. Those are the few things that they wanted us to know, and that they're going to be out here. And actually, you know, next hour we're going to get a little closer to see that suspect's vehicle in the wall. But for right now, reporting live in downtown, Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
To weather this morning, where conditions are going to remain hot and hazy, but just for one more day, as we will eventually get some heat relief heading into the weekend. But before we get to that, those hazy skies have resulted in almost a smoky smell over Spokane as of this morning. It was a bit more notable today compared to some other days this week. And yes, that smoke and haze is going to be present yet again. That is not going to change because the fires all around the Northwest, between Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana, are all burning quite actively, and all big smoke producers as well. But our air quality, with an AQI of 57, remains in the moderate category, which is acceptable. But we've seen some areas, particularly along the South Hill of Spokane, getting into that 60 to 70 range. Nothing too significant yet, but just a pinch worse than it was yesterday.
So speaking of that air quality, you might be wondering what each level of the air quality index means. It scales from green to maroon, with green being the best air quality and maroon being the worst. Most of the time we're in green or yellow, which is when the air basically doesn't affect your health. Orange is unhealthy for sensitive groups, which means more vulnerable populations like older people might have some issues. The red category means the air can have negative health effects for most people, but especially sensitive groups. For the purple areas, this is very unhealthy. At this stage, it becomes a health alert, and everyone is at risk for health troubles. And then finally, maroon, that's hazardous. That's very dangerous conditions, and at this point, you should stay inside. Right now, there are level 2 evacuations for a brush fire near Cheney. So if you live near Cheney Spokane Road to the Columbia Plateau Trail area, you need to be ready to leave. Less than 12 hours ago, fire crews were able to stop forward progression of the fire. Because of the terrain, though, dozens of firefighters had to hike through the woods in order to battle this fire.
It's along the train tracks and along the Fish Lake Trail. And so there's 3 barriers and terrain and ravines in between them. So we can't drive to the fire like a lot of times we can drive and bring our engines or trucks in there. With this fire, it's all walk-in hand show right now.
The fire has burned about 8 to 10 acres. Meanwhile, for the wildfires burning in Stevens County, fire crews downgraded all evacuation orders to level 1. The fire started just after midnight yesterday near the town of Marcus. Right now, firefighters say they have not been able to stop the forward progression quite yet. And to our north, a fire burning on both sides of the Canadian border has grown to more than 16,000 acres. Crews have the Eagle Bluff fire burning near Orrville 10% contained this morning. Earlier this week, the federal government approved funding to help fight the flames. This morning, we still don't know what sparked that fire. This morning, Spokane County deputies are still looking for the 2 people from a shooting near Airway Heights yesterday morning. 2 people were shot and their car was stolen. Deputies say the victims were giving the suspects a ride from a casino when the shooting happened. About 30 minutes after the shooting, deputies found the stolen car on fire. One woman we talked to said she heard the whole thing from her apartment.
I heard a lady yell, "What the blank?" Then after that, I heard what sounded like gunshots. I dismissed it and went back to bed. When I woke up, there were police officers everywhere.
Deputies say the victims were seriously hurt in the shooting, but both should be okay. Just days after a judge sentenced Lori Vallow to 5 life sentences, now she's starting the process to face more charges in Arizona. Law enforcement filed a warrant for her arrest in Maricopa County, Arizona just yesterday. Court records say Vallow is facing 2 more conspiracy to commit murder charges there. One charge for the death of her 4th husband, and the other charge alleges Vallow tried to kill her niece's ex-husband. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office says the extradition process could take a while, but in a press conference last month, the county attorney says she hopes to have Vallow in Arizona by the end of the year. And this morning, we have new information about the investigation into former Spokane City Administrator Johnny Perkins. Perkins is accused of violating the city's sexual harassment policy. KREM 2's Amanda Rowley has been combing through more than 80 different files of newly released public documents. She joins us now with the employee concerns that prompted this whole investigation.
Based on the evidence collected before the investigation closed, the Spokane City Human Resources Director determined several violations occurred. They include a direct violation of the city's sexual harassment policy, inappropriate language in the workplace, and the city administrator engaged in behavior causing negative employee morale. The report shows the HR director interviewed 5 witnesses, 4 of which are current city employees and 1 former. The report summary says Johnny Perkins was in a relationship with a city employee. Throughout their relationship, the report says he shared intimate details, including his sex life, with one of his employees. In an interview with that employee, they told HR they felt those details were extremely inappropriate and equated to sexual harassment. The report also noted that in 2021, Perkins inappropriately asked a woman at work on a date. Mayor Nadine Woodward then explicitly directed Perkins to not pursue or try dating any female city employees going forward. Leading up to the closure of this year's investigation, the city and Perkins dispute whether he avoided meeting with the city investigator. But it appears both parties couldn't agree on a time to interview Perkins for the investigation before his resignation.
Weather-wise today, still going to be hot and hazy out there with current temperatures decently mild for early this morning. A lot of current temperatures are in the 60s, including here in Spokane at 63 degrees. And in Coeur d'Alene, you just barely got down to 59. That's the low temperature for the day, but our normal cool spots are standing out. It's Sandpoint at the coolest this morning at 46 degrees currently. But that sunshine will warm us up very quickly yet again. 86 by the noon hour and should be in the low 90s all afternoon. But notice how we have some increasing cloud cover later on into the evening hours tonight. There is the smallest chance of showers that we could get for this evening, but I think the better chances from that monsoon moisture to our south and east will arrive Friday night.
A live look now to Washington, D.C., where former President Donald Trump is due in federal court this afternoon. Security is tight at the D.C. courthouse this morning. Trump is facing 4 felony counts for what prosecutors say were efforts to stay in power even after he lost the 2020 election to President Joe Biden. Trump is expected to arrive in D.C. today with a Secret Service escort and heavy police presence. Experts think he will enter a not guilty plea on 4 felony charges. Then he'll learn about any release conditions and restrictions in his case. Sources say Trump's legal team is preparing to argue that the former president's false claims about the 2020 election were not criminal and that he was following the advice of outside attorneys at the time. Despite Trump's claims that the prosecution is a political hit, former Vice President Mike Pence says Trump did pressure him to overturn the election.
On that day, President Trump asked me to put him over the Constitution, but I chose the Constitution, and I always will.
We will have a special report on Trump's arraignment at 12:30 this afternoon right here on KREM 2.